Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
This is episode number 163, and this is the show where we shoot from the chest up because secretly we're not wearing pants. Aaron, the Sharks have been kind of doing exactly what they've been doing the entire season, right? But they did it this week as well. We got a win, a few losses, getting a little bit closer to the Bedard sweepstakes, are we not?
We are. It's most of these games they were close in, but the last two games they were not very close in them at all. I think they were a little bit tired towards the end there against both Ottawa and Buffalo. But they're still entertaining hockey. They're still scoring. They're not getting shut out. So I guess that's a win. I don't know. I'm excited still for them to tank and get a better pick for next year. So I don't mind this at all.
And as bad as they've been, I've still been fairly entertained with the amount of goals scored, at least in the game. So that's good. And of course, if you're not watching Sharks hockey, the Barracuda are also a fantastic watch. Certainly encourage you guys to go check them out. We'll talk about them maybe a little bit later on. Right now, let's take a look at some of the comments right off the hop here. Kellen, anyone else ask for a reverse retro with Bedard on the back from Santa? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Sorry from Bettman, he says. Okay. Nick says we give up 5 power play goals in 2 games and still the number 1 PK. Nick, hang on. We'll be talking about that in just a bit. And Peter St. John with a very simple evening, guys. Well, evening to you, Peter St. John. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you'd like to have the rest of your friends and family from the Sharks there, come and join us as well. Share that with them. Retweet us out there. Get us into their inboxes, into their messages, so they can come into the chat and have a good time, just like you guys are about to have, I hope. Aaron, also, yes, if you'd like to hit the like button, that would be awesome. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button and the bell. That way, you know when we're doing the lives, you can get in here and have a nice, fun conversation with us. Also, if you'd like to support the show, you can do that through Super Chat, or you can do it with Venmo at The Fin Factor on Venmo. You can also go to thefinfactor.com, purchase hats, shirts, stickers, water bottles, fanny packs, stuff. And that's my whole spiel. So there you go. Matt Lowe says, hello, fellas. Hello to you too, Matt. We're going to kick things off here. Aaron, let's talk a little bit about the week. It started off phenomenally, started off great. Kaapo Kähkönen picks up his very first shutout of the season. Now, Curtis Pashelka on Twitter said something to the effect that he hadn't let anything in yet, which is great. Or the Sharks playing well defensively. But I said, hey, Curtis, thank you for saying it without saying it, right? And then when the game was over, you're screaming shutouts, right? So, and Curtis gave that one a retweet and a thumbs up, I think. So anyway, it was good to kind of have a little bit of a back and forth, not saying the word, but when all was said and done, yeah, Kaapo gets the shutout, first of the season for the Sharks, with the Sharks, I should say, for Kaapo. And it was just a full, complete game. They win 4-0. Tell me about this game. What'd you think?
I thought it was one of the best games that the Sharks have played, like more of a complete game. Montreal certainly had their chances. It wasn't like the Shark completely dominated the game here, but Kähkönen looked really good and made me kind of excited for his potential to possibly be a starter for the next couple seasons and do very well with it. So I'm a fan of his, and I'm glad to see him kind of rebound and get that shutout. I mean, the Canadiens had 6 power play opportunities in that game. The Sharks had 5 themselves, and there were 0 power play goals between 11 power plays in the entire game. So kind of a weird one in that way. But Montreal's a good team that's got some young potential stars on it. And it's coached by Martin St. Louis, who former player, played in Tampa Bay for a long time and some other places. So very well coached team, and the Sharks stifled them. So I walked away from that game feeling very happy and very good about what I had just watched, because it was a good complete game for the Sharks. And I think it was a good confidence booster for them going into a back-to-back to Toronto the next night. Plus, when when you see the Sharks play original 6 teams like Montreal, Toronto, you get more press. Like if you see the press room or the locker room after a game in San Jose, if it's not one of those original 6, there's not very many people in there. Excuse me. Montreal, it's like a zoo. It's crazy. So the players kind of play up to that too. Like it's more exciting, like think of like in football, you're playing on a Monday night game versus just a regular Sunday game. It's a little bit different. So it feels a little bit different. You're in Montreal. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of more eyes on you than normal. So hint, hint, maybe some scouts are watching this game and want to make some trades, not just with Montreal, but with other teams. So there's more eyeballs on it and you kind of are in the spotlight more. So I think the Sharks kind of do well in that situation and it pushes them, motivates them to play better, which is what they did.
So I think you called him Martin St. Louis. So you need to commit one way or the other. It's either Martin St. Louis or Martin St. Louis. One way or the other. Okay, so Kakinen, I kind of agree with you. I think this is one of his best games. Obviously, he gets the shutout, so okay, it's got to be one of his best games. But Aaron, I've been hurt before. Okay, we got Aiden Hill. I was excited about Aiden Hill. Even Emon, when Emon came on board when we first got him out, there, he just might be an up and comer. We've had so many guys come through the pipeline. And Aaron, like I said, I've been hurt before, so I'm afraid to get excited about Kakinen here after this game, right? I don't know. We'll see how it continues to go for the rest of the season. Obviously, the rest of this week didn't go that great, but not all on him. But like I said, man, I've been hurt before, and I just don't want to go through this again. So moving on from that game, we'll go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. This was actually closer than the score indicated, a 3-1 loss, but there was an empty netter in this one, was there not?
No.
There was not. Okay, so it was 2-1 game. That's what it was, a 2-1 game. And Hertl just kind of makes a bad pass here. And it's a pass that I think when you look at it, it looked like it was kind of a blind one. He just kind of thought that, I think it was Timo, was across the ice, and he kind of just threw it across, gets intercepted, and he takes off. And there's a goal resulting from that play. And right after the game, they talk with Hertl, and Hertl basically just says, you know what, that's on me. I messed it up, that kind of thing. So he really shouldered like all of the blame, and it was funny because Matt Nieto kind of right after that came out and said, I'm going to tell you guys otherwise. He's been great for us so many times. He's won us so many games. It's not just on him tonight, and that's the truth of it, right? Because yeah, it's one bad play, but I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities throughout the game where the Sharks could have put the puck in the net, or they could have prevented one from going in. So the thing I want to ask you about on this one here is, and I've kind of said in the past, Hertl's a great player, and I can see him being like a leader of the team. Absolutely, 100%. He's wearing the A2 at times. So, but I never really saw him as like captaincy material necessarily. Does this change that a little bit? I mean, for me, maybe it changes it a little bit, and maybe you've already felt like he was captain material, but does this maybe not change it, but it does solidify it for you that maybe this is a guy that could be a captain of the future?
Yeah, I think he's been kind of like when Couture was here. He was always, when he was drafted, he was seen as like a future captain type person, and but at the time, I mean, there was Marlowe, Thornton, and Pavelski here, so he kind of had to wait for his chance, I guess. And I think the same thing with Hertl. I think, yeah, he has captaincy potential. I'm pretty sure I've said in previous episodes years ago that he never would be, but now this team is kind of coming apart and getting reassembled with a new GM. I could see his potential as a captain, and that would be, assuming that Logan Couture would be gone. I don't know if they would strip the captaincy and then give it to Hertl, or if they would actually trade Couture. Normally, traditionally, teams would trade away their captains to make a new one. Kind of gives that person a little bit more respect, I guess. It doesn't always happen. I mean, Marlowe lost it, Thornton lost it. And it happened, I think, in a couple other teams, like LA, Dustin Brown was the captain and they took it away and gave it to Doughty, I believe. So you do see it happen like that. But yeah, I could see Hertl. Hertl's really stepped up more than I thought as a leader. Even though he has one big rambling sentence when he talks, it's great. But you just
do it, super producer Jason. Do it right now.
I know he's waiting.
You want to.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's I could see it. I could see him being captain.
All right, that sounds good. So I do want to point. I don't know why he's doing this. I want to point out a couple things from the chat here. Kellen saying he wants to point out the NHL scheduling guy should be fired. Very good. Nicholas Egan saying it's nice to see you guys this evening. Nice to see you too, Nicholas. Peter St. John talking about goaltenders. I have measured views about goalies. No disrespect to Aaron. Okay. And some guys saying that, yeah, it was an empty netter. Nick and Kellen saying Marner got an empty netter in that one. So he keeps the point streak going there. So There you go with that. Okay. Yeah, I think when it comes to Hurdle, I'm still not 100% sure that he's like captaincy material, but for me, it's just that much closer to it when a guy is willing to jump out in front of the media and just kind of take the blame like that. It shows a leadership quality and a quality of taking it on your shoulders. Like it's up to me as one of the better players on this team, and frankly one of the better paid players on the team, to really kind of help push them along. And we're looking for points, and I have to be more responsible than that. And that's the kind of thing that trickles down the locker room. And I think that's one of the things that's been so prominent in what the Sharks have been trying to push, even when Doug Wilson was here, was get the locker room right, fix that locker room, right? And one of the things we had heard from, I can't remember who it was, one of the beat writer guys was saying that the locker room is not like fracturing, right? I think that was the word that the guy used. And actually, it might have been Ted Ramey, come to think of it. He had said that the locker room isn't fracturing. As bad as the team has been doing in terms of just wins and losses, right? Forget everything else. Just what matters, right? Points at the end of the day. That's what matters. They haven't let that break them down as a group. They're still very much a cohesive unit, and they've got each other's backs. That's the kind of thing that you want kind of going forward here, right? You get that culture in the locker room right. And as guys come and go, hopefully that culture stays. And when you've got a much better talent pool, taking roster spots, and then you've got that good culture going on, and hopefully it's just a snowball of all good things there. So I'm happy to hear that at least. So we are fishing for positives here, anything and everything that we can. So let's see here. We got a couple more comments. Anthony Sanchez says, "What are we discussing?" Oh my goodness, Anthony, just listen. You'll pick it up, I'm sure. Super producer Jason helping him out says Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1 loss. That's what we were discussing right there. Yes. Anthony also wants to trade Couture and give the C to Hurdle. I don't know if I agree with you on that one, bud. I don't know that you can lay the play of the Sharks solely on who's the captain. And certainly there's nobody who wants to win, I think, more than Logan Couture does. I know it doesn't always come across in media, but they only show you what they want to show you in front of the media. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Neither do we, obviously. So, he might be just the guy that everybody needs, and they just don't have the talent pool. I don't know. Aaron, what do you think about that?
I could see, I think they will trade Logan eventually. I just don't think it'll be like this season. I think it'll be a couple more seasons down the road, and then eventually the torch will pass to Hurdle as the captain. So when I talked about him getting traded, I don't think it would be this season, mainly because, I mean, he's making $8 million for another 4 more seasons. Logan Couture is. Mm-hmm. I think that's a bit hard to swallow for some teams, especially this year in this cap. But the cap next year, if it does go up to 4 million, I could see there's going to be a lot more movement and players going around teams and people signing for more. So I wouldn't put it out of the question in like maybe another 2 years, two more seasons or so. Because remember, he's a great two-way forward who can score. He's a scorer too. So he's kind of an all-around package. And when he's in the playoffs, he really steps up his scoring. His compete levels is off the charts. So he's going to be a great addition to a team, maybe who needs a third line center, a very responsible third line center who can put the puck in the net. And having a 1-2-3 punch down your lineup that can score in the center role is going to be huge for any team. So again, I don't think it would happen for a couple more seasons, but I don't think he's untradeable either, if that makes sense. He does have value and teams see it.
Nicholas Egan saying of the younger players with quotes around it, Hurdle is probably the best option for C, but Kellen coming up with another good point here. Kellen, Ferraro is the future captain. Let's not get it twisted. I don't know.
I could see Ferraro writing a letter, but I don't think he'd wear the captaincy. I think he'd have an alternate. Just because he's not on the ice as much as other players. He doesn't get as much ice time.
I think it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Before he gets more ice time. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's still very young. To your point with Merkley, he's still very young, Aaron.
I'm not against it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I just think that there's other options that would be more captain than like Hurdle, I think would be the captain before Ferraro would be.
Very fair. You know what? As long as we're talking about Couture, I know we got a couple other games to talk about here, but we're on the Couture train right now. So let's just, do you think he wants to be traded? Debbie Smith wants to know, or just win where he can?
Couture?
Yeah.
I don't think he doesn't want to go anywhere. Nobody wants to go anywhere. You want to uproot your entire life and move to a city that you don't really have a choice in. I mean, he has a modified no movement clause, but still, like, it's a big deal. You have to think of the human element, not just the job of being a hockey player. So no, I don't think there's many, unless they're disgruntled. There's not usually players that are say, "Yeah, trade me, get me out of here." I think he would have the open discussion with Mike Grier. I think Mike Grier is very open about everything that's going on because the players aren't dumb. They know exactly where they are in the standings. And Couture has said it over and over because the Sharks are being so low in the standings. Everyone just wants, the vultures come out and they want to pick apart the roster and sell off all these players. And they see that, read it, hear it. They know, and Couture always says it's our own fault because we're playing poorly and we're not winning games. If we win games, none of this talk would happen. So it's not like it's a shock to any of them. But at the same time, if the trajectory of the Sharks is not going to be good for the next 4 or 5 years, then maybe he will say, okay, it's time for me to go chase a cup and go to a team that can win and who wants me, and I'll have a role. So, yeah, I don't think he's actively wanting to go.
I think I agree with you. Same vein as a Joe Thornton or even a Brent Burns. They just we want to go where we can have an opportunity to win, right? And if that's not here right now, then time to move on. I can't remember who it was saying. It was Eric Carlson actually was saying. You realize that you're not so young anymore. When you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. Not all of a sudden you're past your 30s. You're just kind of like, oh, I'm running out of time. So unfortunately for Jumbo, that time has passed, it would appear. But for guys like Couture and even Carlson and possibly Hurdle, right? Those types of guys, the clock's still ticking for them. And I would not blame them whatsoever wanting to go to a team that provides them that opportunity. We've talked all season long about the eventual trade of James Reimer, and we're happy for that. We want that to happen, not because we don't like him or because we're just selfish and want the picks, which we are. But we want what's best for the player too, right? And what's best for the player isn't to sit and rot in a place where he's not going to be successful. So we'd much rather see them have an opportunity to go and chase that cup. They're good guys, good players, good people, and we want the best for them. So
it's funny. Years ago, I went to a hockey game. It was this program where they would hook up somebody. You could buy a ticket and sit with a former player. So it was like a test run. This guy I knew was like, "Hey, are you interested?" I'm like, "Sure." And I got to go to a game with Dave Maley, former Shark player and former broadcaster, I believe, and the owner, no longer owner, but the founder of the Plex, right?
Yes,
the founder of the Sportsplex
of Roland Ice over at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds, which eventually moved over to the Plex. Yes.
Oh, so he started Rolling Ice. That goes even further back than the Plex. Okay. Anyway, he was talking to us. His rookie season, he plays with Montreal. He only played, I'm looking at his stats. He only played 3 regular season games, plays 7 playoff games. They win a cup. He wins a cup in his rookie season. He's like, it's fantastic. It's great. And you're always chasing it. And he's like, after that first year, I'm like, oh, that was easy. Never won it again. He's like, I never won it. It was, and at that time he was a bit player because he was rookie and very young. So he wasn't playing in every game, but he's like, he got spoiled because he won it his very first season and then could never even come close again. So, this goes back to your point of everyone wants to win a cup, right? And then you get older and you realize you only have so many years or seasons left. And in this sport, I mean, a devastating injury, you're one injury away from never playing again. Look at Shea Weber. Look at probably Carey Price might not play again. Like, that's it. Carey Price went to the final. Both Shea Weber and Carey Price went to the finals 2 seasons ago and lost. And that might have been their last chance. So, yeah, it's kind of like your mortality, not like you're dying, but your career mortality is coming to fruition. And so you kind of go, okay, like Brent Burns, he's 37, was like, okay, Sharks are going to get here in the next 2 years. I need to go somewhere else. I can see Couture probably doing that in a couple more seasons. We'll see. We'll see where the Sharks are. We'll see how Connor Bedard looks in a Sharks jersey for a couple seasons first, and then you'll decide. I mean, that could be what he's hanging around for. What if you get Connor Bedard? Would you want to stay for that? Absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see what next season brings.
Grandizer, I'm probably mispronouncing it. Grandizer 12 says getting paid versus winning a cup. Absolutely. When you're younger, getting paid is great. But when you're older, if you haven't won a cup yet, man, I really would take a pay cut if it meant I could have my name on that shiny piece of hardware, right? That's what you're doing this for. That's why you play the game. Making money is wonderful. At the end of the day, they are still competitive people. And that's what they want. They're chasing that dream. That's a childhood dream. Getting paid is a bonus. Right. What they want is their name on that cup. So if you're a guy like Erik Karlsson, and there were lots of discussions about this in the game, I think against Ottawa, which we'll talk about in just a second here, where Erik Karlsson was asked about the Ottawa Senators being interested in him potentially going back. And he had said, I like where I am right now. I can't, try to think of like what could be or whatever. I just have to play in the moment. I'm enjoying the season that I'm having right now, et cetera, et cetera. So I think though in the back of his head, yeah, he got paid great, but his age is not going to get smaller. He's only going to get older, and he knows that. Everybody knows that. And you're going to be at a point where you're not capable of playing the way that you are this season. So you want to be able to play for a team as close to your prime so that you can have as much impact on the game as you possibly can to try to get that team lifted towards winning a cup, right? So I don't know if there was, again, they were talking a lot about this and he kind of like joked about it with these guys, but I don't know if there's maybe a little something in the back of his head thinking, man, it'd be really great to go back to Ottawa. Because remember when he left, when he got traded, he was saying, Ottawa is always going to be my home, et cetera, et cetera. And he still has a place in Ottawa. So it wouldn't be like he has to go and buy a new house or anything like that. So that would be very interesting to see kind of what happens with him as the season goes on. So I don't know, Aaron, do you think there's anything at all behind this talk about Karlsson and the Ottawa Senators and any interest in him? And of course, he's got, he's got all the say in it with his contract, right?
Yeah, I can't see him moving to Ottawa, going back there. I just don't see it. I mean, it is new ownership because the owner had passed away. And I don't know if you've seen the news, but Ryan Reynolds is looking to possibly purchase the Ottawa Senators. He currently owns I don't even know how you say, like, I had to explain it. He owns a team, a soccer team in England that's in like the bottom-most division or tier in English soccer. Brexham, I think is the name of it. Him and the actor from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I believe. You guys will know the names. They went in and bought it together. And anyway, he's looking to possibly buy the Ottawa Senators, and he's Canadian. And he would obviously be like a minority owner, but be the spokesperson for the head, whatever. So maybe going back to Karlsson, maybe he would want to go there, but I just don't see how it would work. Shabbat is there, and he's probably their number one defenseman, and he's very young. So I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of weird to have the Sharks trade him back to Ottawa. And I think it would be a complete like laughing stock in the NHL. Other teams would just laugh at us like, oh, you basically rented Karlsson for 5 years and he destroyed your team, So I don't know. I don't think it would happen, but you never know in this world. So what do you think? Do you think it would happen?
I think at the same time, I mean, why has Ottawa got a good crop of younger players now? It's because they moved a big name and they got some picks and prospects back in return and everything else. So, okay. Maybe that's just what the Sharks need to do now. Right. And if it goes back to Ottawa, yes, I think NHL fans would look at San Jose and kind of laugh, but let's remember that was a Doug Wilson move. This is Mike Grier at the helm. Mike Grier doesn't care. Mike Grier doesn't care where he came from. He just cares what's best for the team right now. Now, any moves that Mike Grier makes, maybe he'll look back and go, okay, I don't want to look weird, but that was Doug Wilson's move. I'm undoing something else that I didn't do. Somebody else did, right? So I don't think Mike Grier would care whether or not he goes back to Ottawa. I think it just cares about what the return is going to be, frankly. So I could see it happening. I don't know that it's going to happen. I think you're right. There's a lot of money to move there, but they do have players on bad contracts that they could shift over. So who knows? Peter St. John, though, does know one thing. He says that he doesn't want his name on the cup, so can he get paid instead?
That's the other thing. Like, the players, this is their job. This is their day-to-day job is playing in the NHL. They don't care what team it is. They don't care. Maybe they care what city it is, depending on their life. Like, are they married and have kids? Are they single and want to go out and party? Then you go to Vegas, or you go to New York, or you go to a bigger city, right? But if you have a family, yeah, maybe you don't really want to play in those big cities. You want something a little bit smaller and safer for kids. So again, the human element plays a role in that. And a place where there's no income tax could play into it, which would be Florida is one of the examples. Washington, Seattle is another place that has no income tax. So that saves you some money. Like, there's all these different things that go into play, and it's very rare that you get a player like think like Carlson could play wherever he wanted if a team wanted him. Like, he has a say because he's such a superstar player. Then you get the other guys, third, fourth line grinders that are bouncing between the AHL and the NHL. They're just trying to stick a job. They don't care who they play for. They want to be in the NHL. They want to stay in the show. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's very rare that you get, again, I think I mentioned this last time, like Tavares saying, "Oh, I grew up a Toronto Maple Leaf fan and I want to go play for my hometown, Toronto." Like, okay, cool. That's very unrealistic and doesn't really happen very often. But yeah, and then going back to some of these comments about, like, Peter saying, "I don't want my name on the cup so I can get paid instead." Like, when they play in the playoffs, they don't get paid. They only get like a small bonus. I think if they win each round, they get a little bit of a bonus, but their salary only pays them through the regular season. So they're not getting paid while they're in the playoffs. So that's kind of like their claim to fame is like, oh, they don't play for the money. They're playing for a cup. Well, kind of. They do get paid a bonus, and they're playing for their next contract.
Sure.
But yes, every player in the NHL is an extremely competitive person. Maybe with the exception of Phil Kessel, because he likes hot dogs. But everyone else is very, very competitive. And you're not going to see people just, I don't know, be lazy players and not go for the cup or go whatever. And there's a big shtick from Don Cherry about how he hates Russian players because they don't care about the cup. So they're not like trying as hard as other players do, which is just complete bonker. I'm not going to say the word, but I'm just going off on a tangent now.
But how dare you, Aaron, say that Phil Kessel is not competitive because he likes hot dogs? There's a whole competition around hot dog eating.
That was a joke. It was just
come on now.
He's a very competitive person, obviously.
Nicholas Egan. I mean, getting paid to play in the NHL is a pretty nice bonus. Nick, do you live in San Jose? Because a player's salary won't buy you a home. The base salaries won't buy you a home in San Jose.
Yeah, so $750,000 is the base, and you probably take half of that away for taxes, and then another percentage goes to your agent, and then there's escrow that you have to pay into. So a $750,000 player in California, or at least in San Jose, is probably clearing about $250,000-300,000. Which is, it's good. It's a good salary to play a game, but you're not buying a place. You're renting. You're not, unless you're buying like a little townhouse, maybe. But yeah, you're not buying a house.
Kellen says you're buying a complete bologna sandwich for that much. And Nicholas Egan corrects you and me. You he's saying here, but that's 2-time cup winner Phil Kessel to you, Aaron.
You're right.
Well done, Nicholas. Okay, let's finish up here with the Ottawa Senators, the 5-2 loss. Again, we just talked about Hertl supposedly blowing it. I don't think it's all on him, but that's how everybody saw it. Fine, against the Maple Leafs. But Hertl has a bounce back pair of goals, if you will, against the Ottawa Senators. They ended up losing that game anyway, 5-2, but he scored the 2. So he did show up for that game at least. So, again, it's one of those things that you see this guy and he's down, and the next game he comes back, scores 2. Again, it's kind of like that leadership quality that I'm going to come back, be stronger than ever. And I'm not going to let this keep me down and hold me down. And he does exactly that. Unfortunately, the Sharks tempt the Ottawa Senators with power plays. And there's, our penalty kill is so good. Well, not that good this game, apparently. So 3 out of 5 goals. I'm sorry, 3 out of 5 chances, and actually still 3 out of the 5 goals were on the power play for the Senators in this game. The penalty kill finally comes back to earth, finally falters, Aaron. Tell me about this. The PK, has it just been too stressed?
Well, they're missing one of their better PKers in Sturm, right? That's going to take a toll because now you got to throw out somebody else who's not really quite a starter in that role. Just when you play with fire so much, you're going to get burned. And they were giving up a lot of power plays this week, taking a lot of dumb penalties, a lot of just mental mistakes, not moving their feet, a lot of stick infractions, just lazy, tired plays. It is a market correction in a way. And even then, they give up, was it 5 goals, 6 goals, 5 on the power play. They're still in first place in the league for PK. Like they dropped, but they're still in first place. So yes, the PK will probably not finish the season over 90%. I think that's kind of, I don't think that's realistic. So right now they're sitting at 86.3 after letting in those 5. So still pretty elite, but they're banged up and missing I guess they're missing Ferraro too. Sturm and Ferraro. Those are 2 big shot blockers right there. Sturm more of like the smarter player who's playing up top as the winger, and then Ferraro is a shot blocking machine. He's heavily missed in this lineup right now.
Well, who else is heavily missed in this lineup that would do pretty well on the PK? It's got
Reimer?
big pads on his legs.
Reimer, yeah. Right.
So, I mean, yeah, again, like you said, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And not only are you giving them mass amounts of opportunity, you're doing it without some of your mainstays on the PK. So, yeah, of course, ends up in the back of your net 3 times out of the 5 chances that you gave them. 2 of those chances. What's that?
I say, Kellen said, does this also show how valuable Reimer is? Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
As poor as the Sharks are in the standings, it could be a lot worse without Reimer, which is scary.
It absolutely would be a lot worse. But again, so we could look at this 2 ways: how valuable Reimer is to the team and to the PK, but also how valuable Reimer is to another suitor, right? I mean, this is somebody that, again, brings value via trade, right? So that's one of those things that we're looking at for him, not only as a player to get shipped out and go somewhere where he can be successful, but his value is going up and what we're going to be able to get back for him. So all good things there, I think, and I hope. A trade to get Reimer out of here would be best for everybody involved, and I think that should make everybody happy. There should be no hard feelings when it comes to that. So there you go on that. But I was going to say LeBanc ends up in the box twice, and I'm not really sure what to say about LeBanc anymore. Like for me, there's 3 players on this team that I've really felt kind of let down about, right? One of them is LeBanc. Another one is Lindblom, who we'll talk about in a second as well. And then Noah Gregor, I think. I think Noah Gregor's got some potential, and I just don't see him being the 10, 15, hopefully goal scorer that you guys think that he can be. I just don't see it. So I've kind of been let down by that small group. But for me, again, it's LeBanc in the box again. And in fact, let's just skip ahead to the Buffalo game where we lose 6-3. Again, LeBanc, he gets asked about the penalty kill, in which they had 4 opportunities given to the other team, right? To the Buffalo Sabres here. They go 50% on their PK, 2 out of 4. And when LeBanc was asked about it, he says, well, yeah, you just got to keep your feet moving. That's really, Kevin, really? You just got to keep your feet moving? I mean, that's how appropriate. That's your whole problem, buddy. That's your whole problem, is that you're not moving your feet. And that's why you have the stick infractions. Whenever you're tripping somebody or hooking somebody, it's because you're not moving your feet. Like, that's really what it comes down to. So how appropriate that you're the guy that they're asking about this, and this is your response. You talk about a canned response that you were talking about earlier. How they just kind of give you oh, yeah, we just need to do this. I mean, how really? How much more can this possibly be? He's saying exactly what he needs to do, and this is exactly what's getting him in the box repeatedly. So you would think that he'd be able to take his own advice and just, you know what it comes down to for me? And it's like coaching kids, I tell him the same thing. And my son, I tell him the same thing. He's not a very physical guy, okay? Just like Kevin LeBanc is a smaller dude and he's not really known for hitting. Fine. There's a difference between trying to body check someone and separating them from the puck. And separating them from the puck has everything to do with your foot speed, your angle, and your desire to just skate through hands. You don't have to body check anybody. All you have to do is take their stick away and get your body in between them and the puck. And when you're falling behind, yes, you tend to hook and trip because you're trying to catch back up without having to move your legs. So it's infuriating when a player just doesn't want to do the hard work to get the result that you're supposed to have, and instead you've got offensive zone stick infractions. And it's just, again, it irks me, and I'm obviously a little upset about it, but it's just, then you got to come out and just say that, like, no, we just got to keep. No, you got to just keep. You need to do this. So anyway, I'm done ranting. Go ahead, take over.
I want to know what is the average distance away from the goal that he takes penalties? Because I feel like he's always behind the other team's net taking a hooking or a tripping penalty because he's too slow or too lazy to move his feet and get into a position to take the puck away. He's had so many trips and hooks and everything from that far away, like 200 feet away from his goal. He's got to be leading the league in that. There's got to be a way to measure that too. Like maybe pinpoint like on the dots on the ice of where a penalty is taken, and then you can measure it from there. I don't know if someone does that or not, but
I'm 100% sure Natural Stat Trick would do that. I think the one stat that stood out to me though, and I think it was Corey Masisak had said it, that he's a -6 when it comes to differentials of between penalties drawn and penalties taken. So in other words, he's taken 7 penalties and only drawn 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting you at a disadvantage more often than not. I don't really care how many points the guy does or does not have when you're taking so many offensive zone penalties, penalties that are so far away from your net and are not going to result in a goal, right? I understand that you're trying your best to get the puck back. I get that. I get that you have good intentions. Everybody in this league has good intentions. They all want to win, right? That's what they're there for. That's why they're getting paid. But for you to have the same problem, and it's not just even this season, we're talking about season in, season out for the past, I don't know, however many seasons he's been with us. It seems like he has not learned that lesson yet, that it's the foot speed and the angle more so than I'm going to try to get you with my stick. And it happens all the time. And I just do not understand how this has not been brought up to him yet, that dude, enough with the stick infractions, move your feet, get your body in there, right? And again, you don't have to be a huge, bulky human being to smash. You don't have to hit anybody. You just have to skate through the hands and separate them that way. There's no massive body checking required for this. It's simply get in where the hands are. That's it. And for some reason, he's always behind the body instead of in front of the body, and that's where you get the hooks and the trips.
I'm pretty sure they've talked
Kellen
about
thinks it's 180-foot minimum.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've discussed this with them. And I mean, this year he's missed a few games. He was scratched, wasn't he? So I mean, it's not like it's nothing new. To me, he just reminds me of like a beer leaguer who used to be really good and got away with doing things because they were so good, but they're lazy. Like they don't put in the work, you know? They're that guy on your team that never back checks at all. And you're just like, come on, dude. I play indoor soccer, and there's players that I play with exactly like that. Same way. You know what I'm talking about. There's certain, I mean, it kind of crosses over from what I'm playing in hockey. Like, you know, there's certain kinds of players that are exactly like that. Like I really don't like playing with them. Especially when you're trying to, in soccer, we're always talking and telling people to cover and they don't. And you're just like, the hell, I just told you to do that. Like, obviously they're going to score a goal because you weren't covering them, and they're just lazy. They just don't want to do it.
Peter St. John looks like he's agreed here. LeBanc never seems to have gotten the memo about defense. I totally agree. That's kind of what we're saying. Yeah, Kellen's saying, I don't think the Sharks draw too many penalties as a team as well, though. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but this is what it comes down to is just you got to move your feet. And that's what he's saying. Got to keep your feet moving. English is my first language. I promise you. So just stay with me. I think Hedekin would say he's a cake eater. Yeah, maybe he's a cake eater. I don't know. It's just annoying, man. It's just really annoying. I can handle losses. I can handle losses.
You see his goal that he scored?
No, I didn't even.
Oh, absolute snipe. Just sniped it into the top right corner, like barred down in the corner, like bing, just beats him glove side. It was amazing. And you're kind of like, okay, well, yeah, he's got a great shot. I could see why he's in the lineup because that was an amazing goal. It really was. And we keep saying he needs to shoot more. He shot that one, and it was, you need to look it up. It was a slick goal. So good.
You know, what he was saying about the Sharks don't draw too many penalties as a team. You draw penalties by being a fast skater. That's really what it comes by keeping your legs moving. That is how you draw penalties because people have no choice but to hook and to trip and to hold, right? They have no other choice but to do that. That's how you draw a penalty. I wouldn't say you draw a penalty if you're standing on the boards with your back facing the player and they just drill you in the back. That's just them being a goon. You didn't really draw a penalty. You were just the unfortunate person that was there against the glass when they decided to be a goon. But the way that you draw a penalty is by being a hard, fast skater. And I think, and getting into those dirty areas like Cunnin does, right? Absolutely, right. 100%. I want to discount what he does. But, and Peter St. John's saying it right now, skating. Absolutely. The more you're moving your feet, the harder it is for them to stay with you, to catch you, to be in the right position, to angle you properly. There's so many different things that go into it. And when that doesn't go right, they have no choice but to try to slow you down in a way that would be deemed illegal. So that's really what it comes down to for me is that effort, right? That desire, that want. And I just don't know that a lot of the Sharks are there right now. Guys like Nico Sturm, he's definitely there. Guys like Cunnin, they're definitely there. I mean, obviously Nico's out of the lineup right now, but anyway, I always talk about Mario Ferraro, same thing. He's a guy that never stops skating. The difference with Mario is he's barely ever holding the puck. So he's not really getting infractions drawn on him. He's usually the guy going and getting the puck and then moving the puck up and out. So there's a difference there. But and then Peter St. John saying that is why Timo was drawing a lot of penalties. Yeah, because Timo's got the memo. Hey, drive your feet, get to the net. Absolutely. They don't want you in that high danger spot and they have to catch you. If you have a step on them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to try to haul you down. So for me, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, being a goon. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. But whatever. Anyway, so that's what they have to do. They have to try to haul you down. And when you're not moving your feet, you don't have the desire, you don't have the effort, you're not going to draw penalties. And when I see that Kevin Labanc has 7 penalties and he's only drawn 1, that tells me again, this is a guy that's not moving his feet. He keeps hauling people down when he doesn't have the puck, and he's not skating hard enough to get hauled down. Right? Am I off on this, Aaron? What do you think?
No, and moving your feet is exactly how you draw penalties. Like you see those guys that they're up against the boards and they're getting pinned, and you start moving your feet, they're going to call a penalty because you're.
So we're going to do the roll call, and I know we've got different thing here, but I want to do for roll call. If you agree with the whole like moving your feet thing, first of all, when it comes to drawing penalties, and obviously the reason that you have to take a penalty. So if we could add that in as part of what the roll call is, but super producer Jason also has something in here. Oh, maybe actually Aaron might have typed it in. Who is your future captain? So let us know what you think about that. Also, of course, the usual, tell us where you're watching us from. That's always fun. And then let's see, while we're doing that, Aaron, maybe you can help out with that one there. While we're doing that, I want to call it this question here. Can we trade Labanc? Peter St. John, can we trade Labanc? I don't know, honestly, how tradable Kevin Labanc is. I mean, again, all the things that we just got done saying about Kevin, I don't know that many teams have an eye on him as they did before. Now, Aaron had said earlier in the season, not much earlier, maybe a week or two ago, that he saw Kevin as kind of like a setup guy. And then Aaron just got done talking about man, this snipe that he had, right? I see Kevin Labanc more as the trigger man. I see him as you want to get him the puck when you've already moved it around a few times and the defense is leaning the wrong way. And then he uses that shot of his. He's got a really nice wrister, and I wish that he would use that more often. But I feel like he just moves the puck around where that's not really his forte. I think his forte is get me the puck when everyone is leaning the wrong direction, and then let me just fire it like Aaron just talked about. He sniped it, right? That's how I see it. Now, do other teams see that in him? I don't know if they see that because he doesn't use that weapon too often, right? And what teams see most probably is the parade to the penalty box. And I don't think they want a guy at $4 million a year who's going to go to the penalty box quite a bit and isn't really scoring all that much. Like he doesn't really have a big draw, I think, for other teams right now. We've got the roll call question up there. Perfect. So Aaron, tell me what you think about that. Is Labanc a guy, obviously is somebody I wouldn't mind trading, but is beyond him something that you want to trade or don't want to trade? Is he tradable? Are other teams even looking at this guy?
The player itself, yes. The contract is what's hard. And he's getting paid, let me look real quick, $4.75 million, I believe.
Oh God, I hope not.
4.725, almost $5 million. Too much, but he's got next year. He's a UFA after next year, so he's only got 2 seasons left, this season and next year. So yeah, he's going to take a huge pay cut. Will a team want him as a rental player next year? Get traded next year? Absolutely, because at that point his salary will be deducted by by the trade deadline. It'll be a lot less. I think he could possibly be losing a spot in the roster depending on how many of the young guys are getting called up next year anyway, and who's getting added this upcoming draft. So he might want to be moved anyway to keep playing in the NHL on another team. And again, I think he does well on the power play. He does well when there's more space. When it's 5-on-5, I don't think he's as good. He's not as creative. He doesn't have as much time or space. I think he's a good player, but he's kind of a third line guy that can help on your power play. And that's kind of a pigeonhole role because he does not kill penalties. He's never been used to kill penalties. The only time he helps the team out is when there's a bench penalty, too many men on the ice, and he goes and serves it. That's his role. And you don't want that role. If you want to play in the NHL, you don't want that role. That role goes to rookies that don't really play penalty kill, right? Not established players that should be busting their butt. Imagine getting him traded to Philadelphia. Because who coaches in Philadelphia? Tortorella.
Oh, no, he'd be dead.
Yeah. That's what I feel like he needs. He needs a coach he's going to become a shot blocking, penalty killing, do not take a stick infraction penalty. He just needs like that kind of tough love. So I could see him thriving in that or failing. It'll be,
I was going to say it'll either round out his game or he'll get put on the waiver wire one way or the other.
Swim. That's at this point. That's I don't know.
Peter St. John saying he's watching from Hollister, and he says the captain, can he be the player to be named later? I mean, that's the whole question is who's the player. And he says, yes, I agree. It's all about skating when it comes to whether or not you're drawing penalties. Nicholas Egan from San Jose is saying stationary players never get calls. Absolutely. And he says, your captain and mine, Connor Bedard. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Matt Lowe, Castro Valley. Yes, you got to at least move your feet to get in any position and be ready for body contact. Cannot shy from that. Absolutely. My future captain, Gannon LaRock.
Isn't he? He's in the AHL right now, right? Barracuda? He's a defenseman.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's a defenseman that they had
that's right.
Signed last year as
an
entry level, I believe.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, he signed. I'm looking him up right now.
Oh, okay.
He was drafted 4th round in 2021. He's a 6'2", right-handed defenseman. He's only 19. He's pretty young. But yeah, he's been making some waves, I think.
It's like Grandizer 12 agrees. Grandizer, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. I feel like I am, but the way that it's spelled, I feel like I'm getting it my best shot here. So he says, I'm watching it on YouTube. Yes, we can see that. Cool. From Phoenix, Arizona this week. Oh, this week. I guess he's a traveling man. I agree. Moving your feet, being in motion. At this time, I have not watched enough games to see who should be a future captain. Well, hey, man, at least you're honest. A lot of people will just throw out an opinion. So I 100% appreciate I do not appreciate this comment. Future captain for me, Noah Gregor. Maybe future captain of the AHL Barracuda.
Hey, that stash has power, man.
Oh my God.
He needs to keep
something.
it. He needs to keep the stash. That thing is so good. So dirty.
What what's not good is the special team stats for the week for the San Jose Sharks. Aaron, why don't you take us away on some of these stats? My goodness, how the mighty have fallen.
Well, first of all, they went 2 for 10 on the power play, so 20%, pretty average. In fact, their average on the season is 21.1%. So it did go down slightly because of that, but that puts them in 19th. That's not good and that's not bad. It's not disastrous bad, but it's definitely not helping the team. It's not holding the team up with power play goals. Now the PK, this was bad. Obviously the last 2 games, they gave up 5 goals on the power play. So they went 13 for 18 on the PK for the week, but that's 8 more penalties, 8 more power plays that they had to kill than they had for the week, which is not good. But that 72%, they went 72% this week, only drops them to 86.3 on the season. They're still in first place. They're still leading the league in penalty killing. So that's how good this team is at penalty killing. And I think someone had put the stat, and I forget who it was. I don't want to say the name, but someone had posted in here that they are still save percentage number 1 in the NHL for goalie save percentage on the PK, and they're dead last on 5-on-5, which is bizarre, just bizarre.
But it's great for the standings.
Yes, I don't mind. Again, I don't mind, but whatever. I'm just pointing out the problems and what needs to get corrected going into next year.
To be fair, again, we talked about some of the guys that are missing from the PK. To be fair, we talked about some of the guys that are missing from the PK, and I feel like while the 18 is horrendous, I think the 13 would have been a much better number, maybe closer to 15, 16, had you had some of those guys back in the lineup. I think Nico Sturm is a humongous part of the penalty kill. I think Ferraro brings a whole heck of a lot of it. And I think if you have Reimer in the net for one game here or there while this is all going on, certainly a much better chance of having of maintaining that high level PK. So still 86.3%, 21.1% on the power play. What they always say, Aaron, when you add the 2 up, if you're over 100%, you're in good shape. So it looks like the PK is still propping up the power play, but the Sharks are just not getting the points regardless. So they're just losing the battle 5-on-5. Special teams is great. Being able to win that battle and have your total percentages over that 100% mark is great, wonderful. But they're just losing at 5-on-5 is really what it comes down to. So they've got a lot of work to do in that arena. I think there's some stuff to focus on with the power play for sure. I think the penalty kill has been great, and I think you're just missing personnel there. But 5-on-5 is the big problem, I think, so far. So if they're planning on winning some games, which I don't even know if they are at this point, but if they are planning on winning some games, that's probably where the best use of their time is. Anything last you want to talk about with the Sharks? Because I do want to hit the CUDA up. There's some really good play going on with the Barracuda recently, so I just wanted to kind of highlight that before we get moving here.
I'm just looking at the last 3 seasons of the Sharks. Last year they ended second in penalty kill, second in the league.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that they were in the middle at 80%, but their power play was atrocious. This is 2 seasons ago. They're at 14.1% on the season. It's awful. That was the shortened season, the COVID shortened season. They've improved. I mean, if you look at it over the last 3 years, the last 3 seasons, they've gotten better and better. So they are working on it. They're getting better, but just showing that there is actual progress being made. And the PK is obviously it is keeping them afloat for the special teams aspect of it. But yeah, let's move on to the CUDA. Where they're
Before we do,
excited.
Peter St. John says, what about Buffalo? Peter, we were actually talking about Buffalo when I was talking about LeBanc saying you got to keep your feet moving. That was the post game for that game. Really, the only thing I wanted to highlight in that game is that we lost 6-3 and that he had made the very appropriate comment about moving your feet when he's the guy that needs to move his feet. The only other thing I think I will say this, Oscar Lindblom, again, he's been one of those guys for me that I was hoping would have a bit of a resurgence. And it just hasn't seemed to be working out for him. He's kind of been one of the like I said, the 3 disappointments for me so far this season. In his post game, Oscar had said, they just wanted it more than us. And the thing that bothered me about that was that he scores a goal in this game, right? It's the first goal of the season for this guy after 20 something games. And he's saying they just wanted it more than us. I feel like everybody on the Sharks wants it more than Oscar right now. Maybe that's not fair to say. Like, I know he's gone through some stuff and, he's just getting himself back into the league and everything. I get that. But when you put 1 goal in and you're talking about the other team wants it more than us, I mean, there's some truth to that, I'm sure, but I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. Like, oh, I did my part. I scored my goal, but they just wanted it more than us. Again, maybe I'm reading that wrong, but I didn't like that. I didn't care for that. I don't know, Aaron, am I reading into that too much? For me, I mean, obviously Lindblom hasn't really done much of anything this season. We talked about this already. Nick Bonino hasn't done anything this season really either. He's got a single goal. And he's even got less points, I think by 1 than Oscar does, but it's different. Bonino brings something else to the table, right?
Yeah, he's I don't know, works hard and kills penalties too, and is just one of those smart players, kind of like Sturm, but just not as fast as Sturm. Lindblom to me is, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was hoping for more. Obviously, I'm a little disappointed as well, but I still think he needs a little bit more time getting back into the groove of things. When you miss that much time physically away from the game, physically fighting for your life because he was fighting cancer, it takes a toll on your body, and it takes you a while. It takes you years to build that muscle back up. So I think he's getting to that point, and I'm hoping the second half of this season we'll see more of the Oscar Lindblom than that we were expecting to see than we did in this first half. So I think he'll still have time to turn it around and do good things this season.
So you're saying I'm a jerk and I'm too harsh on him?
No, not at all.
Okay,
I'm more of like explaining like the process of coming back from something. I mean, it wasn't like he broke his leg. It wasn't like, something that had a quicker recovery. It takes a lot out of your body to do what he did. So just to get back at a professional level like that takes years. It's not going to be months. It's going to be years.
Do you think it would have been better for Oscar then to have come back in a different capacity, like come back with an AHL contract instead?
No, he's still NHL level. If he did an AHL contract, then you'd have to clear waivers, right, to get signed or pulled back up. I mean, to me, he's a reclamation project. Here's a guy who played in the NHL who had a lot of promise and was looking good, and the Sharks were able to get him for pretty cheap and hope that he would be the player that he was. And so far, he's not quite there. But I have a feeling like again, going back to the whole my theory of Greer protecting the young guys that are in the AHL by putting serviceable NHL caliber players in those positions, such as Lindblom, to force a competition. So not just Lindblom doesn't have that spot. It's not like it's given to him. He's fighting for that spot. He's trying to beat out the other players that are behind him, nipping at his heels to take over. So he's creating this whole competitive environment to push these players more. So he's still a NHL caliber player. He's not putting up the points, but the Sharks, man, they don't have a lot of players that are putting up a lot of the points. So It is what it is. I'm fine with him on the team. He doesn't bug me as much as LeBanc. I'll say that. How about that?
Remember though, Lindblom was a UFA signing, so they could have signed him to a contract where it wouldn't have mattered in clearing waiver, just signed him to an AHL contract. Okay, let's just go through some of the comments about the Sharks before we jump into the Cuda here. I got someone here I don't recognize, Mingo Boone, who's on Facebook. Keep your stick on the ice, stay out of the penalty box, light the lamb. Let's go Sharks.
Typo.
I know it was light the lamp, but it says light the lamb, and I want to read it verbatim. I don't want. And hey, maybe he meant light the lamb. I don't know. Maybe he sets fires to stuff. I have no clue. Let's see. Peter St. John. I was blown away by their talent. They are loaded. I'm not sure who they are. Do you know who he's talking about? They?
Buffalo. The Buffalo game.
Go. Okay. Yeah, Katie Harshman, I'm in Campbell. Timo is my captain. She's following up from our previous roll call there. Thank you for that, Katie. Appreciate that. And let's see. Nicholas Egan wants to chime in on Bonino and Lindblom. Both getting their first in the same game is slightly comical.
Yep.
Hey, man, hopefully it's the first of many more for these two. Again, I'm hoping for them to have a resurgence, especially for Bonino because he's on 1 year left on his contract. I'm hoping for him to have a resurgence so that a team will find him more valuable and want to take him on so that he has an opportunity to win a cup. Also, selfishly, so that we get a better draft pick in return. And same thing goes for Lindblom. I know he's got a 2-year contract, but if this is a guy who somebody else sees more value in and thinks that they could be a part of their potential Stanley Cup winning roster, then hey, more power to him. As Aaron said, he's gone through quite a bit. So it would be great for him to have the opportunity to go there and do that. And Peter St. John, yes, he was talking about Buffalo earlier when you had made that that comment there. Yeah,
with Bonino and Lindblom and Gregor last week getting their first goal of the season, there are only 5 Sharks left on the roster that have not scored a goal. Do you want to take a guess?
How many left that have not scored a goal?
5 have not scored a goal.
5.
1 player has not registered a point.
Magna
have not scored. That's 1.
Okay. I was going to say it's got to be like young defenseman, first of all, right? Chichek?
Yep.
Okay. Who else? I don't know. Who else?
Harrington,
really?
He's only played 2 games.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah. That's that. Yeah.
But he does have an assist, so he has a point.
I was thinking, when you said Harrington, Benning came to mind for some reason. That's why. Okay. So Harrington. Yeah. He's only played a handful of games, though. Yeah. You're right.
Gadjevich.
That's kind of surprising.
A dozen games. Yeah. He's there for a different reason.
Right.
Vlasic has not scored a goal. Kind of surprising, isn't it?
Wait, does Vlasic not have a point or a goal?
Goal.
Okay.
Talking about goals.
Yeah.
So defenseman plus 1 forward. I mean, Vlasic's got 27 shots on goal. That's a decent amount to not have.
Kellen here, by the way, saying, wasn't Bonino the snake bitten guy last season as well? Absolutely, he was.
And then he in the beginning of the season, he was very, very cold, and people were shocked because at that time he was playing on the power play, the top power play unit.
Yep.
I think it took him like 20 games to get a goal last year.
Speaking of guys who can't score, and speaking of Kellen, I want to bring up that Kellen had a bet with us last week. He said, if Noah Gregor doesn't score, and you try to change this. He says, if Noah Gregor doesn't score this week, I'll buy a shirt. And you said it should be if he does score, to which I replied, Aaron, I want the highest probability of Kellen buying a shirt. Do I not? That's got to be him not scoring a goal, right? So I don't want to rub it in anybody's face, but he did not score a goal again this week. Kellen did go and buy not 1, but I think 4 shirts, if I'm correct. Kellen, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just misread the message you sent me there. But he bought a slew of shirts. I guess he said his kids can use some shirts as well. So thank you, Kellen. I appreciate you supporting the show, being a man of your word, and being willing to do a little bit of wagering there. That was pretty awesome stuff. Thank you, Kellen. I appreciate that, bud. Yeah, it's infected.com. So if you would like to be as cool as Kellen is and look as cool as Kellen's kids, You can go to thefinfactor.com and pick up the same shirts that he bought, or hats, stickers, water bottles, that kind of stuff as well. So please, if you'd like to support the show, feel free to head over to thefinfactor.com and get something in return. If you don't want something in return, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, and you want to support the show, you can do that super chat or Venmo at the Fin Factor. Those are the best ways to do that. Got to be gym ready, Kellen says. He's going to be wearing at the gym. So if you go to the gym that Kellen goes to and you see a guy pumping iron with a Fin Factor shirt on, there you go. There's all the cool stuff you can get. Oh, yeah, the hoodies. I keep forgetting about the hoodies. So there you go.
There's the one. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. Awesome. Okay, done with the Sharks for now. Please stick around, guys, because again, if you're not enjoying the Sharks, you should be watching the CUDA. They are a blast. They are the future of the Sharks franchise, and they look great on the ice together. They are doing for me. I think they look exceptionally well. Maybe their record doesn't quite say that, but they are doing exceptionally well for what I'm looking for out of these players. So the CUDA, most recently, I went to the teddy bear toss game on Saturday. Super awesome. They had a 4-2 win against the Tucson Roadrunners, also known as the Meat Meeps. Apparently, the fans are saying, chanting "Beat the Meat Meeps," and then his daughter was going "Meep Meep 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 Meep." It was very cute. Anyway, they beat them by a score of 4-2. Luke Johnson gets the teddy bear toss goal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically what happens is all the fans bring in teddy bears. In fact, they were passing out a teddy bear as well. If you wanted to keep it, you can, but right at the door, I think it was like first 2,000 people, you get a mini teddy bear. And if you would like to throw it, you can. If you don't, you can keep it. That's great. But a lot of people's coming in with bags full of teddy bears and everything else. I think my family, we brought a Squishmallow. I don't know what that thing is, but it's a Squishmallow. There you go. And then my other son brought a big teddy bear, and my other son brought a gigantic pink unicorn. And when they scored this goal, we had them launching over the glass. It's so much fun. Again, the first goal that they scored during that game, it just comes raining down with fluffies, man. It's just so cool. They had some of the little giveaways, the little bears. People were trying to throw them over the netting and they got caught in the netting. So for the rest of the game, they had little bears that were stuck in the net. It was really funny. One guy was trying to throw this bear over the net, and he was doing it from like the bottom of the bowl. And he had like a quarterback cannon of an arm, really chucked it up there, and it kept coming down. The fans kept cheering him on. He finally throws as hard as he can, gets over everybody. The whole place just erupted when he threw it over. It's hilarious. So 3,879 bears got chucked over the glass here. And this all goes to the some local kids who are going to have some nice stuffies for their Christmas. So it goes to obviously a very good cause. So if you went to that game, I'm sure you enjoyed it. And of course, I think it was Kaiser Permanente was the one that sponsors it. I'm sure they thank you for you coming out there and helping out, sending some bears over the glass and everything. Bordeleau has a 3-point game here, 1 goal, 2 assists. The guy is on fire right now. Again, if you're not watching the Barracuda, he's worth the price of admission alone. And Aaron, I had made that meme a while ago with Eklund and Bordeleau, the guy walking down the street with his girlfriend, and he's looking over his shoulder, and the girlfriend is Eklund, and the girl he's looking at is Bordeleau. That's Sharks fans. And I'm telling you, Aaron, I'm still 100% on the train that Bordeleau is going to be more NHL ready and earlier than Eklund will be. I know he was not quite as high of a pick, but the guy looks insane. He looks amazing to me. In this game, something to be pointed out, I'm going to butcher the name, and I apologize. Bokonji Imama. I'm going to call him Boko for short, and I'm sure that's what everybody else calls him. If they don't, I apologize. But Boko, the entire game for the Roadrunners was just trying to start a fight. Like, he was lined up with anybody at the faceoff dots, and he was just chatting away, pushing and shoving, and always trying. Just a guy that was just looking to see if he could start a fight. I don't know if he's looking for an NHL role as an enforcer. Somebody needs to tell him that role is dead. Regardless, he goes and absolutely blasts Knyazov in the back. It was a puck that was going down almost for an icing, didn't quite make it. Knyazov was going after it, and here comes Boko right behind him. No slow up whatsoever, and just absolutely flattens and annihilates Kinyatsev. He goes down. Gloves are going off. People are just getting mad at each other and everything. And as Kinyatsev is leaving the ice, he gives a thumbs up to the crowd saying he's okay. But he got tossed out of the game. Boko did. So I don't know if there was anything more behind that. I didn't get to see the game today that they played, but it was at least good to see that he got ejected for that because it was completely unnecessary. I just think back to when kids are wearing their jerseys with the red stop sign around the neck. Maybe they need to have that for these guys that are just really hungry to make it to the NHL. I don't know. But it was a very unsafe play, and I'm just glad to see that Kinyatsev is okay. The last thing on Barracuda is, again, they did have a game tonight, 4-3 overtime win against the Roadrunners, the same team, the Meeps, right? Bordelot in this game scores again. So he goes from having 4 points in the first 12 games of the season. Actually, it was 4 points in the first 5 games, and then he just went for 7 games with nothing. He goes from that to 12 points in the last 10 games, and 11 of his 16 points are goals. And then, of course, Luke Johnson, the same guy that caused the teddy bear toss rioting, he gets the overtime winner for this game here. But, I mean, 11 of 16 for Bordelot are goals. This guy, to me, is as close to getting a call-up as anybody else. And if I'm Oscar Lindblom, I'm looking over my shoulder just a little bit here. I know you say he's an NHL guy who's having a hard go right now. I get it. No problem. But do you tell me that a guy like Bordelot isn't knocking on that door? I don't know.
I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, I honestly, I don't think they'll bring them up until after the trade deadline. I'm assuming they're going to be moving pieces out. I don't think they're going to call any of those guys up until then.
Okay.
What are the Sharks doing? They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Standings. They're not going to be making playoffs. So why?
You don't think just NHL experience?
I'm not saying I agree with it.
Okay.
I'm saying this is what I think the Sharks are doing.
Fair enough.
Okay. I would love for them to be up. To me, watching Thomas Bordelot last season, he impressed me more than William Eklund did. Like he seemed to belong. He had that certain, I don't know, the certain swagger. Touch, you know? What?
Swagger. He's got a swagger about him.
Absolutely. Like he looks like an NHL player to me. So, yeah.
Nicholas Egan, by the way, he says book, but I think he means Boko, got a 4-game suspension from the AHL. So good to see that. For me, good to see that. Again, that was a completely unnecessary hit. Good to see that the AHL is doing their due diligence on that. Okay, last thing on the Sharks here, upcoming games. Aaron, there's only 2 this week. We got a Wednesday game against Vancouver at home, and then we've got a Friday game in Anaheim. Talk to me about these 2. Again, we don't really care about the outcomes necessarily, but what is it you want people to know about these games?
Well, these are 2 teams that are low in the standings, just like the Sharks. Anaheim is the only team that has a worse winning percentage than the Sharks. They're at .288 now. They still only have 1 regulation win. The Sharks have played them twice so far, and they lost to them in a shootout twice. And Vancouver is a team that everyone thought was going to be better than they are. But for the last 2-3 seasons have been down the dumps, kind of like the Sharks, I guess, if you will. But Vancouver is sitting a little bit better. They're at a .460 winning percentage, almost 500 team. It'll be an interesting game. They have a deadly power play, so the Sharks will really need to stay out of the penalty box. Anaheim it's an interesting thing because Zagreus is kind of their next big star. He's kind of already there. Gibson has not been playing very well at all in goal, which is weird because Gibson's usually a very good goalie who seems to get hurt at certain points of the year, every year. But I could see the Sharks wanting revenge on Anaheim because they lost to him the way that they lost to him the last time they played each other. Because I think they were up. That's the game where Anaheim scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes to tie it, and then they went to a shootout and lost. Anaheim won, but the Sharks kind of blew the game away, and that was earlier in the season. So I think that kind of deflated them a bit. I think they're going to want revenge for that.
I think they'll want revenge, but I hope they don't get it, because that means the the team lower than us in the standings will bump up, right? So it's really weird, like hoping for losses, but hoping for the best too. You know what I mean? It's kind of I feel like a bad fan, and I know that I'm not. I feel like a bad fan, but I mean, I love the team through and through. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to look out for what's best for us in the future. Sometimes, Aaron, you need to get hurt. Like I said, I've been hurt by goaltending before with high hopes. This team has hurt me many times.
The long-term health. The long-term health of the club will be better if they tank this season.
I have to agree with you on that. Yeah, absolutely. Debbie says, I have a black shirt and love it, and a hat. I'll probably get the sweatshirt next. Debbie, thank you so much for supporting the show. I appreciate that. Guys, again, if you want to do what Debbie's doing and look awesome, by the way, Debbie, send us a picture or something, because people don't believe that people buy our gear. Okay, so please. I know everybody buys the gear and then nobody sends us. Yeah, there you go. thefinfactor@gmail.com. Send us some photos. We'd love to put you up on the screen. That'd be awesome. So there you go. If you'd like to do the same thing as Debbie, again, thefinfactor.com, get all that gear there. Okay. It's not called the Shark Tank for nothing. I know. We all would love to see it. We just don't want to see what it takes to get there, right? What's the saying, Aaron? Something about making something, but they don't like to.
Nobody wants to see you make the sausage. They just
there you go. Nobody something about making something, but you don't want.
Nobody wants to see the sausage being made.
Oh, I can't lie. It was, a lot last, month. And
oh, super producer Jason finally got to use it. Well done. Uh-oh, Kellen, one last thing here. Speaking of goaltending, Martin Jones, second most wins in the NHL.
That's crazy.
The heck is going on, Aaron?
I don't know. A broken clock is right twice a day, so I don't know.
Oh, Aaron, you got all the sayings, buddy. You got them all. I'm the sausage thing, then the thing you just whatever. Phenomenal. Thank you. This is what the people come for.
My other favorite phrase, and it'll probably happen, is called market correction. I would assume that there will be one coming.
Okay.
I mean, we just played Martin Jones, and what, he got a win because they won 8-6? Come on. What are we doing here?
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as we did. I'm having a blast. So it always sucks saying goodbye, but it's time. It's definitely time. So again, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you supporting the show. Like you said, going off to the finfactor.com, getting the gear there, supporting us with Super Chat, supporting us with the Venmo at the Fin Factor. And you guys can do that after the fact too, if you'd like. And if we have a comment from you, we'll go ahead and put it into the next show. Not a problem. So again, thank you guys for doing that. Oh yeah. And make sure that if you like the stream, hit the like button. If you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Then you know when we're going live and you can get into these conversations. More than anything else, though, for me, it's please feel free to share this, retweet this, get this out to the rest of your Sharks friends and family. If you're enjoying the show, they'll probably enjoy it as well. And you get to talk with them in a digital format, because nobody wants to actually be face-to-face anymore. So there you go. Aaron, any last second comments here? No? You good?
Let's do it.
I'm good. Super producer Jason's good. And so for super producer Jason, I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And we will see you guys
next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube.
Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts. You'll also find our exclusive merchandise to help support our show.